For March the 26th, 2021, we talk about Loop Hero, Magic Legends, and we do a free play multiplayer. Welcome to Level 364. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Maismith.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level, a podcast for people who love video games. Hey, David, can you get up on that microphone a little bit more for me?
Oh, yeah. How's that? Is that any better?
Much better. I should have worked that out off mic, but here we are, starting out by putting David on blast. We're good. Thank you, though.
I imagine that
his birthday, no less.
Oh, happy birthday, David.
Hey, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Is it? I don't want people to triangulate, but is it on the first day of spring every year, or is it?
Or day before, actually.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So I guess it makes sense to go to you first. How's things? How's shakes?
Things are going pretty well.
Do you feel wiser?
Oh yes. I've become enlightened. So look forward to that. No, things have gone pretty well. It's I don't know about up where you guys are at, but it's pretty much decided on being spring here.
No, it's great.
I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I've been doing yard work. I've had the windows opened. Yeah, no, it's definitely a boost to my mood.
So it's awesome. So I live next to one of my best friends down here, and then like on the other side of him is a guy who has a yard care business. So we just both hire him to do it. And so he will literally just start at the end of his lawn and drive his lawnmower across all three, then back, then across, and so on.
That's what you want. What you want is for your neighbor to the left and your neighbor to the right to hire the same person to do yard work, and then you can squeeze the guy because it saves him money to just be able to go across both of them in one smooth motion. I guess what I'm saying is it possible for you to further exploit this person?
Yeah, well, our goal is to see how much of the street we can get in on this thing. That's what's that game where you're trying to make the longest train track?
Oh, Ticket to Ride?
That board game. Yeah, yeah. We're trying to do that, except with mowing.
Ticket to
Alternatively, Rivers, Roads, and Rails by Ravensburger would be.
Oh my goodness!
It's a deep board game cut. That fits that bill.
I wonder why that didn't catch on.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
So this is
go ahead.
Mostly off topic, but I was looking at the Hexcrank website because of something, a off-air conversation. Is Killer 7 a horror game? I thought that was a stupid action game.
No, it's a horror game. Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, you're fighting against invisible enemies that will sneak up on you and stuff like that. It's kind of on the edge to a certain degree, but I would say it is a horror game.
So Cole,
isn't that a pseudo numbers game?
Yeah, it was kind of his first big one over here.
So Cole, I'm not saying I don't believe you, but I do want to point out that you'd probably be incentivized to make more horror games than not, because that gives you more content.
True. I've definitely gerrymandered things in and out. I've done stuff on the edge. I've done Spec Ops: The Line as a Hexcrank game, right?
That's pretty fair though.
Yeah, but I would say, that's kind of in the, the monster was you all along kind of deal,
It's in the oh God, what have I done category rather than the oh God, what is that category?
Yes. Yeah. And we talk about this on Unfilmable, the show on the network about horror movies. Kind of one of the necessary elements for horror is that people need to be in danger well before they're aware of it. And the danger has to be practically inescapable, right? It has to be something that they're in the jaws of. Yeah. I would say Spec Ops counts. Yeah.
By Dennis's metric, does that mean Amnesia is, oh gosh, what is that have I done?
Oh man, I need to update that site. I've got more stuff to put on there. So
That's actually the word for horror in German.
Oh geez, did you do anything cool for your birthday?
Not too much. Just hung out with friends, hanged out with friends, something out with friends.
Close enough.
Two very different meanings depending upon which one you used.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, hanged is the method of execution, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I
And
know
I
what you
see
meant.
you're not fixing the sentence that you said either. So awesome.
Well, he's here.
Yeah.
I got better.
What was it?
This is what happens to the neighbors who don't comply with the mowing.
I learned this with oh gosh, I learned this with when we covered Return of the Obra Dinn on Watch Out for Fireballs. But did you know that electrocuted, like if you are electrocuted, it means that you died, at least by the original definition of the term, because because it is a portmanteau of electric and electrocution.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
interesting.
So what if it's non-fatal? What is that? You're just shocked.
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't look up the other one. It was neat, but not neat enough to make me care to look further. So,
See,
No,
my
I'm just thinking of
favorite,
the-
like, as long as we're on like obscure words for disturbing things, my go-to is exsanguinate.
oh yeah,
What's that one?
It basically means to bleed out.
yeah, to move all your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
you know.
This is calling to mind the conversation on like, all right, if you bite it and you die, it's poisonous. If it bites you and you die, it's venomous.
Mhm.
If you bite it and bites itself and you die, that's correlation, not causation. And if they bite each other and both live, that's kinky.
Sure.
I
For
like
that third category, could also be a voodoo doll.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Let's see here, Dennis. How about you?
Yeah, we've reached that phase of spring where we've talked about opening the windows, but we haven't yet. So it's right on the cusp.
Oh, it's a real treat. I recommend you do it.
It's good times. We're looking wistfully at the windows right now. I have managed to avoid COVID in all this, but got a bug last week of another sort, which of course makes you convinced you have COVID and are about to die.
Happened to me in December. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Yeah.
But at least, I went and got a test and everything. And I think there is a little bit of just like, all right, I know at least in reasonable proximity to this test that I do not have COVID. That is nice. That is comforting.
Yeah.
But taking the test is not comfortable at all.
It's go
It's
ahead.
no different from flu test. Like if you get urgent care.
So I got a flu test and a COVID test at the same time. The flu test was easy because it was just, all right, let's get the back of your tongue. And it was like a little bit gaggy or whatever. Like, okay, yeah. The COVID test that I got was up my nose, and that made me gag. That was
Maybe Austin, Texas is just rougher with their flu test because it was like 1-to-1 between flu test.
no, it was the other way around. The flu test was the one that was kind of like up my nose, but not like far back in my brain and sinuses. The COVID, I corrected you like a dick when I didn't even realize what I was talking about. The COVID one was the swab at the back of the throat. They got it, and I made the most horrible retching noise. I won't even try and like replicate it because it was pretty bad. And I was like, I am so sorry. And she said, literally everybody does it. You're fine.
Yeah.
See, I got COVID, the COVID test up the nose. And it was like the drive-through contactless thing. So like the lady is advising you through the window. And so you just hear like,
you do it yourself?
You have to do it yourself. And so if you can imagine that situation and you hear further.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh my God, I'm reenacting that scene from the end of BioShock and just having to do it to myself. So it was rough. And then I I still don't know if I got this right or wrong, but I pulled it out of the right nostril and she's like, all right, now do the left nostril. And I only had the one Q-tip and I got like a monster nasty booger on the end of it.
gross.
This is all TMI, but
Yeah.
and so I'm looking through, I'm like, there's got to be a second Q-tip. And I was like, are there but the communication's bad. I'm like, are there two Q-tips? She's like, yeah, you just do the other one. And I was like, okay. And so
dirty end.
it was
Awful.
but I don't have COVID.
Awful. I hate that. I hate that thing you just said.
Yeah, it was not a great experience.
No.
But we're thinking about opening the windows. So
Okay. one step at a time. Oh gosh. How are you, Ben?
I'm doing okay. I had like a super rough work week last week, but it is all over as of yesterday, which is nice. I took today off to just take a break and de-stress, and so I just basically lounged around and did some errands. So
great.
I'm feeling nice and recuperated now.
That's good. Yeah. No, and I've got just not too much going on, just a lot of work. We're in the middle of doing Divinity Original Sin 2 for WoW. And that is
are you playing that co-op together or kind of linearly separately?
No, linearly separately.
Okay.
And man, that's a good game. Just there's a lot of it.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where it's like, no matter how much I play, I always feel like I'm behind. So, it's good and fun, and I like it quite a bit, but also, just running into that problem that does not inspire any sympathy. Like, I got a lot of work to do. Oh, what work are you doing? Playing one of the best computer RPGs of the last 5 years. Okay, cool. Shut the fuck up.
Is that the one where you can get a feat that lets you talk to cats and stuff?
Yeah. You can be a pet pal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are you rolling as in that, just out of curiosity, since we don't talk about it on mainstream?
So in Divinity 2, my main character is Fane. He's the undead guy, rolling him as a wizard. And then for my part, these are all the pre-made characters with backgrounds and stuff because they're interesting and good characters. I'm rolling with Losa, the possessed bard. I'm rolling with Sibyl, the elvish rogue, and Beast, the dwarvish pirate guy.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard decisions because those are all good characters. The two that I left behind out of that bunch, but yeah. Yep. But that's just other games. We're not supposed to talk about games here, you guys. If we're impatient, we can do the regular kind of show, first, thanks for understanding us missing last week. Sometimes it just happens where at the last minute, no, we don't have a quorum. So just ended up being the case. We appreciate your patience with that. But we're back here with things like the grind, the multiplayer. It's a free play this time, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Can I go first?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I want to express my affection for a game that I streamed this past weekend, which is called Lost in Vivo.
Okay.
This is an independent horror game that has you playing from a first-person point of view. You are a person with claustrophobia who is walking home with his service dog one day, and a horrible flash flood comes and washes your dog down into the sewers, and you have to go in and chase after him. And this takes you through lots of Silent Hill-esque nonsensical spaces that are tinged after, kind of like psychological issues of kind of the people who suffered terrible fates in them, being chased after by monsters and solving puzzles and getting really good, kind of psychedelic atmosphere and some grade A jump scares, although it doesn't rely on them overly much. Just in case that is a thing that bothers you. I would call this a really well-rounded horror game that is one of the best examples of independent horror that I have seen. It is not just like a walking simulator kind of thing, like a lot of independent horror games kind of end up being, in the Unity engine. Just like, hey, I had this weird idea for a space. Let's put you in here. Like, you do find guns. You can defend yourself. There is like a health system. You automatically heal damage over time as long as you don't take damage as you go. But it's like built around these really interesting set pieces and themed monsters and bosses and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks great. And that is, I mean, high praise given that there has kind of been a renaissance of indie horror.
Oh, yeah.
As of late.
Yeah. I go ahead.
And this is Lost in Devo?
No. It has nothing to do with being human or Devo. No, it's Lost in Vivo, like VIVO, in reference to like in vivo exposure therapy. So the idea being like, oh, if you had claustrophobia, you would confront that by immersing yourself in it, by spending a little bit of time in an enclosed space you could easily get out of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So can you pet the dog before it is washed away?
Before it's washed away, no. You do catch up to the dog every once in a while. And this is a little bit of a spoiler, but at one point in one of the levels, the dog is a mimic.
Oh no!
You're walking up to him and you think, oh, it's my dog. I finally caught up to him. Oh, he's moving kind of weird. Why are there seams around him? Oh, he's a monster that just has an outer shell that looks like a dog who is now chasing after me. Incredibly good monster design.
Like, if you just
I was going to
abandon the dog and be like, this mimic is now my pet? Because that sounds kind of awesome.
Oh, no, the mimic wants to kill you and eat you. Yeah.
It's so I'm looking at screenshots of it, and I'm the only way I can think of to describe the design of the monsters I'm seeing anyway is it's a bunch of faces that seem designed around, something that kind of looks like a face, but then you look closer because it startles you and it's not, except they are definitely faces. Like it's faces that could easily get like halfway walked past before you realize what it is.
Yeah. It's very, very clearly pulling from Silent Hill, which is also very clearly pulling from Jacob's Ladder, which had, the demons in that kind of had the similar appearance, right? Where, they moved in unnatural ways and they wore like prosthetic masks where the features were not just like slightly off, but like looked human and gestalt, but on, like you said, on closer examination were deeply uncanny, right? Or outright monstrous. Yeah. And they get more like the monster designs get more twisted from there. It is a lot of rusted, mottled, bloody kind of muscle and tissue. Probably worth noting when we talk about the design is that this is kind of styled after PS1 style stuff. It's higher detail than that, and it does kind of lean on that aesthetic to a certain degree. Kind of plays a little bit fast and loose with what it gives a lot of detail or doesn't. But it is kind of in the vein of stuff that you would see in the Haunted PS1 or Dread X kind of stuff.
Very cool.
This is
have you finished it at this point, or are you partway through it?
Yeah, it's a short game. It's like $12 on Steam, and it let me see here. It's $12 on Steam, and I finished streaming it in like 4.5 hours, something like that. It was two sessions, so you can run your own math on whether or not that is worth it to you. I would say it is a very inventive and well-rounded 4 hours that, like I said, is, some just grade A independent horror that gets a strong recommendation. What I will say, content warning, one of the major kind of enemies or like, let's just say, themes of one of the areas of the game. You are wandering through a place that is haunted by the ghost of a woman who had body image issues. And, a lot of it is related to a lot of the horror and kind of pathos of her story that you're finding is that she was driven to the limit by the people who made fun of her and her eating disorder. So if that is a thing where seeing that presented would make you have a worse day, understand that is a content warning. Yes.
Did you mention that this person had also done something with the DreadX collection?
Yeah, they had also done. I was looking to see what else they had developed, because I know that they did the Spooky's House of Jump Scares games or Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion. They also did something in DreadX Collection 3. They had a game in DreadX and in DreadX The Hunt as well coming up.
Nice. What else you been messing around with? If anything?
Just more Stardew, but I don't know that I have too much else to say. I've done the majority of what you can do on Ginger Island. I've unlocked most of the parrot stuff. I think that I'm just about done with this with this run of it at just shy of 100 hours. Just because I've most of the things that I have left to do is like buy this thing that's worth $10 million, or go and do these especially onerous like bonus side quest challenges to get a special currency to buy things that will help you further optimize your farm. I think that I've kind of wrung as much blood out of the stone as I'm going to get this time until another couple of big content updates come out.
I feel like that we need to like coin a term for that moment in a game, because I think the same thing happened to me in a lot of the factory games that I played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, I get it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue getting out of this something that is a worthwhile return on investment of whatever I put in. Yeah. So I need to find something else that will kind of fill its space as a brainless compulsive game I can play in between things, because that's obviously it's something that I like having that but if I'm sitting down on my Switch, like the stuff that I have is like role-playing games or Phoenix Wright, which is like I sit down and play a Phoenix Wright game or any games like that, in times when I would have the energy to read, right? It's like I can be reading a book, or I can be, it's like, it doesn't, you need something that fits that very specific spot. Yeah. I'll find it though. I'll figure something out. But yeah, that's all I've got. Lost in Vivo and Stardew Valley.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I got two that I've been playing. The first one I sent you guys a video of before stream is I finished up Dyson Sphere program, quote unquote finished up. Basically I decided to end the game is what happened. Is the win condition is you research the like last level of technology. Mm-hmm. Which are the white cubes, and the white cubes are just one of each of the other color cubes, and then antimatter. So that's fine, whatever. It's not like it's not really a big change in like the layout that you already had up until that point, because basically all the text before that were like one of each colored cube. So the only addition really is the antimatter and some processing. But one of the things I did to kind of finish up the game is basically set up a bunch of like, so you have these like towers. I don't know if I mentioned this or not in an earlier stream, but it's like basically these antennas that you can plant on any of the planets. And there's like local ones that can store 3 different resource types, and you can toggle them to supply or demand and put ships in them. And so they can just like carry resources around the planet for you. But then there's bigger ones that can store 5 different resources. And then you put bigger ships on those, and then those can go to different planets like in the galaxy. You have to give them warpers if you want them to go like really far away. But if it's in the same solar system, then they don't need that. Anyway, so I set up these things for basically all like the final tier stuff. So like final tier, like factory builder, final tier conveyor belts, that sort of thing. So it's like a nice system where it's like you can drop in on any planet, you set a new one up, give it power, and then you just ask for whatever resources you want, and then it'll send them all there, and then you can use that to like build and colonize like the planet. So it's like you get to a cool like level of like efficiency in the game.
Yeah.
And so I was working on building the Dyson sphere still. So that like requires two different things. You have to manually like plot out what nodes of the sphere you want to build on. And there's like, they have two different like structures you can do. There's like a kind of like XY type grid that you can do. And then there's like a triangle type tiling that you can do of it. Yeah. And so, so I planned that out or whatever. And like, so I was like sending things to fill out the nodes, and then you have these like solar sails that like rotate around the sun, and then they'll just automatically be collected and fill in the node positions and stuff.
Okay.
But it takes like forever. So like I started doing this on like Friday night over the weekend, and like let it run overnight and that sort of thing. And like the next morning when I would wake up, I would see like, oh, okay, it's like maybe like 25% more filled in. I was doing it that way instead of like trying to set up even more like resources and do everything in parallel.
So you turned it into an idle game.
Yeah. And that like the same sort of strategy happened with Satisfactory as well, where it's like, well, I could do like 4 hours of work and build another section of this, or I could just leave it on overnight and I should have all the resources I want. So I don't know. That's like a weird like emergent mechanic that comes out of games like that. But anyway, I'd gotten that built to a sufficient degree, decided to end the game, so I set up a pipeline to make the white cubes, did research on that, and then got a message that said I did it, guys.
Nice.
So that was about it. But like that said, like I think this is one of my favorite like factory building games that I've played. Mm-hmm. Just because similar to Factorio, there's a lot of frictionless like components to it, where other games kind of stumble, where it's like it does the same thing where it's like if you have all the base resources, it'll construct everything for you. It's just you're adding construction time instead of like grabbing like the already pre-assembled resources. And it makes sense in the context of the game because you're a robot, so you have like an assembler inside of you, and that's that's what's like making these things. And that too is there's also limitations around that, where there's certain resources that you can't make within you, and you have to make in certain processing things. I think Factorio has that sort of thing as well. But then also just like the mechanics of like traversal around the solar system and the galaxy and stuff is just really cool, and it does a good job of seamlessly doing it. Like there's obviously it's gated because it's gated by tech. Like you unlock like a rocket that allows you to fly and like allows you to get off the planet, but then you have to unlock like a warp drive to be able to go to like faraway stars. So like you otherwise it would take like, I don't know, like 9 hours or something like that to try and go to a neighboring star. But yeah, it's a very I think as in terms of factory games, it's probably one of my favorite ones.
Did you kind of flirt with being stranded again like you did last time?
No, I mean, with that, I just reloaded and I was able to undo that situation. But you do, one of the last materials you make is you can make this type of fuel out of the antimatter that you make. And that's like, I don't know, that's like 20 or 100 times more efficient than the fuel that I was using before. So like once you like throw in 4 of those into your energy hub, you don't really think about fuel as much anymore. It doesn't really dwindle. And I think one of the last things I did in the game is I just flew around to some of the things in the galaxy, because they have like a neutron star, they have a single black hole. There's a few things like that. Nothing's like they don't do anything with like physics or anything like that, or you can't like fly into these things or whatever. But it's just really nice like set dressing and stuff, and just seeing like the different planets that are around them. It's not like anything like No Man's Sky, where it's procedurally generated, but it's not like No Man's Sky in the sense that it's like where they're trying to be like, we can do X billion different things or whatever. Like it's pretty grounded, where resources always look like crystals on whatever planet you go to. What they do mess around with is there's like water type, and so it could be the liquid type or whatever. It could be water. It could be hydrochloric acid, which is typically a resource you make, but some planets just have it floating around. So that's like a good planet to go to for that
just
resource.
in storage.
Yeah. And then some have like lava for like the liquid. And so, so like the uniqueness of the planets is also pretty well done. There's some planets that are, and then like when you can do like terraforming on the planets where it's like you can either bring ground up or shove it down if it's like a mountain or something like that. And I ran into this earlier, but there's like a completely ocean planet like that I went to, and like that was like really cool that they like had that sort of variability. But even that said, like, you know, I only went to maybe like 5 or 10% of the galaxy that was there. Maybe even less. There's just a lot of stars, but you can, like, at a certain point you unlock tech where you can see what resources are there, and it's like, this is yellow sun. It's like pretty basic resources. I'm just gonna skip that. But there is also a cost where it's like the good resources are usually far away, so there's like a time cost for transporting the resources and a cost of like warp drives to be able to do it. So I don't know. It's interesting game, and it's just like it's cool sci-fi as well, which is kind of not necessarily in every factory game that you play. So.
Is forgive me not knowing this from earlier conversations, is the universe procedurally generated at all, or is it like fixed every time you play through?
It's quote unquote procedurally generated, but and I said before it wasn't like No Man's Sky, but I guess it's a similar concept where it's like they have templates for what a planet is, you know, and it will be procedurally generated within that. Yeah. It's just that this is more, I think, a more tighter frame than what No Man's Sky is, where, you know, like all the resources look the same on every planet. It's just it's random in the sense of how many resources are on each planet, and like, you know, the terrain is procedurally generated. So, you know, there might be a hill over here and a dip over there, but that's about it, you know?
Yeah. I just feel bad for those planets and or systems that are generated so far out that you would never reach them before you had all the tech, but do not have anything special enough to get you to actually visit them.
Yeah. And by the end of the game, the map isn't actually terribly big. You can, in 2 warps, you can get from one end of the galaxy to the other. So like when you activate your warp drive, you have an energy, like it's like your internal engine or whatever, since you're a robot. And so that's constantly like eating up fuel, and then it's constantly replenishing. So it's like you spend energy by doing anything, like building something or moving or flying or warping in that case. But once you stop moving or whatever, your energy like builds back up by whatever like your internal like furnace is like combusting or like using for energy. So like basically if you want to get from one map to the other, you do a warp until you run out of energy, you wait for that to fill back up, you do another warp, you get to the end. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but the point I'm trying to say is that the map is, you can go like anywhere on the map by the end of it that you want to. So yeah. And the way that they incentivize like traveling is they have like rare resources on farther away planets, and then the resources are more efficient for creating like higher end like resources. So like I mentioned with the sulfuric acid, instead of like making a chemical processing plant and like trying to make sulfuric acid yourself, you can just set up a water pump on a planet that has that for the ocean type, and then just bring all that stuff back. Or they have like other cases where they have all these like fake, you know, crystal, like a chirum crystal or whatever, and it's like, oh, you can in a single factory turn that to this resource, which normally takes like 50 factories to do. So it's like stuff like that incentivizes you to explore more, which I think is a good way to do it. But yeah,
that does sound kind of cool.
Yeah, and you get a Dyson sphere at the end of it, so that part's fun. I think one
you speared the square.
Yeah, it's the game's still in early access. One like tiny complaint I had is when you're making the Dyson sphere, it generates like a whole bunch of power, which is cool. But like, one is you can only use that power within the solar system, and then 2, like there's not really much you can do with it. So like on a typical, I don't know what all the it's like on a given planet you might have like 70 units, whatever that is, and then your Dyson sphere is making like 40 of a unit that's 1,000 bigger than that. So it's like it's creating like a shit ton of energy, but then there's not much you can do with that. one of the things you use the Dyson sphere for is that's what generates antimatter with antennas, but there's no difference to the generation rate based on how much of the sphere you have constructed. So
that's weird.
Yeah,
it's the Goldblum approach. We spent a whole game asking how we were going to do this. We never, thought whether we should.
Yeah,
the dog who caught the sun.
So it says something that no one wants to play the part of the game where you can just enjoy the leisure and happy, quiet life that comes with having accomplished something like that. We all want to play the struggle leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the process of like building everything and like I don't know. Like I never at any point wanted to restart the game because it's like I don't have to redo all the tech unlocking, because it's like that's kind of when the game begins. Is like you first like unlock all the tech and it's like, all right, now go make a Dyson sphere. It's like you have all the abilities that you can do it now. Just like figure out a way to kind of rebuild things or start colonizing planets like efficiently. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've talked enough about this game, but it's good. If you like factory builders, it's definitely worth checking out. So, do
you have your eyes on any other factory builders?
Not really, man. I haven't seen any other ones that are out. I know Satisfactory had an update recently. The only way I go back to that is if like the person I was playing with it wanted to play it again.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it. I think it's kind of like the opposite, where I'm like I'm fine with taking a break from factory builder games for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've done 2 in a row.
You'll be back. Yeah. You'll be back.
So the other game that I have to talk about, which can segue into David, since he's been playing it as well, is Loop Hero.
Oh, shit.
So I heard about this one because some of the streamers that I watch who play Slay the Spire picked this up and started playing it. And then the joke that I have pre-canned for this is I also wanted to play it so I could understand what the game was.
I've not seen a satisfactory explanation of what it is.
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out earlier, like, what they say, like a high concept game is, one that can, be explained in a sentence. So is this a low concept game?
Say, I don't know. It's a roundabout concept game. Might be a good way to describe it.
It's a focus group concept game.
So basically, think of here's like a good analogy. It's like you're a race car driver driving around a track, but there's like obstacles you have to face on the track, and you're just managing the track and improving things so you can better race around the track, and you get rewards every time you pass like a finish line.
Wait a minute. So are you building the track? Like, are you placing enemies? Is it like a tower defense thing?
Kind of, yeah. Except it's like you're placing land. So you can place things. You can place. So the theme of the game is that the Lich took everything out of existence. Nobody has memories of anything. Lich stuff. But you are a nameless hero, or maybe you have a name and I just didn't see it. But you're a hero, and you start off on a procedurally generated loop, and you are just running around that loop. And
the entire world is black, like Black Void.
And it's a deck builder-ish in that on this loop, enemies will randomly spawn every day. So at the start of every day, like you'll get random enemy spawns. Once you go around the loop, the enemy level increases by 1. So they start off at 1, and it goes to 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Every time your person will automatically fight an enemy. You're not doing anything when you're fighting the enemy. They're just it's like auto chess or whatever. But when you kill an enemy, you get random items. So it could be like a ring or a sword or armor, stuff like that. And you have to decide which ones to equip to your person. And it's on a stack of like maybe like a 3x4 grid. Mm-hmm. And once that's filled up and you get a reward, the oldest one will pop off and then give you a resource that you use in the meta world, which is where you're building a base, a la like Bastion or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the idea is you're doing these like runs on this loop where you get, so one of the rewards I mentioned is you get like items and stuff for you. The other reward that you get are cards, quote unquote. And so the card could be like a land feature that you could place on this black map. And then that's a meadow is there or a mountain is there now. Or it could be something like that would affect the path that you're on. So it's like, oh, here's a forest card. I'm going to put this on the path. And so my hero will walk through a forest at this point and pick up a wood resource that I will use in my meta world.
And then also each of those, or at least some of those items or lands, whatever, will spawn enemies. So, like, for example, every 2 days, I think the forest card spawns a rat wolf, which is basically a wolf.
Yep. Yeah, and so it's kind of counterintuitive. You're putting something down that will spawn an enemy, but that's actually a good thing because your person will fight and hopefully kill the enemy and then get more rewards that will turn into resources for the meta world, and then you can use that to upgrade your base.
Yeah.
And then, sorry. So then the other big kind of mechanic with that is that the different cards can have synergies. So, for example, if you place a vampire mansion next to a town, they'll basically wipe out the town. And when you go there, normally a town, you basically get healing and a quest. But instead, you'll just fight a whole bunch of zombies. Tight. However, if you make it around the loop 3 times, that town will then basically convert to a town that's under the vampire's protection, and so it'll like heal a bunch, like much more than normal, things like that.
And then there's synergies in the land features that you put down. So like a piece of grass by itself will just increase like your HP by like 2 or something like that. Or sorry, it'll refill your health by 2 at the start of every day. And then if you place it next to a rock, then it turns into like a different kind of meadow, and it'll like heal you for 3. And then rocks themselves, if they're placed next to other rocks, will increase your max HP by a certain amount. And then mountains do the similar thing. And then if you place them in a 3x3 grid, then that spawns harpies that will come fight you on the loop. And but it'll also give you a bunch of resources once you generate it. And then there's cards that kill like a square and blank it out, and you can use that on the mountain and then rebuild the mountain, and you just get a shit ton of resources over and over again. There's a bunch of weird stuff like this that the game doesn't really communicate to you either. Like, so it's kind of up to you to kind of experiment and figure these things out.
Yeah.
One of the neat things is some of the more powerful cards. Basically, every like so many that you have in play will spawn basically randomly place down a card that is generally a very annoying enemy. So, for example, every like 10 mountains, you get a goblin camp, which, depending on your build, like are currently the bane of my existence. So there's kind of a risk versus reward type thing.
Yeah, and if you don't place these cards, it's a similar thing to the equipment where there's kind of like a stack, and once you get more of them, the last ones will pop off and give you resources for your meta build, your base build. And so maybe talking about the meta world for a little bit is so you have a base, and it's like it's very similar to Bastion, except there's kind of more options for what buildings you can build. But you have like basically a top-down like square grid, maybe kind of similar to like XCOM, of where you can build like houses. And you have like an upgrade tier where it's like at the start of it, you can just build like a couple different houses. But as you accumulate resources, you can use that to build new buildings. And since they're on an upgrade tier, that'll unlock more buildings that you can build. But at a certain point, space is limited. I haven't gotten to the point where I need to construct houses yet, but I think you have to eventually. Yeah. And then there's different classes. I just unlocked like the rogue class this time. But they have they use different equipment, and they kind of have a different rule set. So that makes the play different.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a bunch of different classes as well. So changing kind of the way you run it.
David, have you beaten the Lich yet?
Yeah, so I've beaten the first 2 bosses, the Lich and then the next one.
I get scared and like just run away with my resources.
So the third class you can unlock, the Necromancer, is it's kind of the type of class that can, if you can build up ahead of steam, can really break the kind of the difficulty loop or whatever, or the power curve or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how I did that. Is basically I had a really good run with that's the Necromancer. And but no, I have definitely done that where it's like, you get right up to the boss and you're like, nah, I'm just gonna keep all my loot.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'd shout out is it also has actually some pretty interesting lore. Every time you see a new monster, you basically have a conversation with them to like, and usually it's your character attempting to recruit them. Well, either attempting to recruit them and find out like why they won't help you, or kind of speculating on their place in the world, because I don't know if you said, Ben, kind of the conceit is that all these things are actually things you're remembering about the world.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and there's just some really weird ones. So, for example, like apparently in this world, vampires are like have a symbiotic relationship with humans.
Okay.
And so like your character is shocked the first time one of them attacks you.
They're like leeches. They drink the bad blood out of you.
Yeah, exactly. Similarly, one of them that I'm hoping something goes with is if you build a whole bunch of forests, a card will appear randomly that's town ? And it's apparently like the forest attempting to imitate people. And so like it's full of like these sort of golems that look like your character.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like I don't know if they're going somewhere with that, but like there's a lot of weird interesting lore bits.
Yeah. So how many of the building types do you have unlocked in like the meta world?
I have most of them actually.
Okay. So I think you're deeper into this than I am. I have like maybe a third to half.
So I did not. I have not done a lot of upgrade of them. I don't know if there's like a optimal, like should you upgrade first or expand out first. I have no idea, but
yeah. The music in this game's great, by the way.
Oh yeah, kind of a chiptune type of thing.
Yeah, and like whenever you do have to fight the boss, like it'll spawn something at the like finish line or whatever of the loop. But yeah, that beat is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I have a better idea of how the game works, but even still, it's an interesting game. I do like the idea of not focusing on combat or like that kind of being secondary. You're just trying to
create optimal conditions for success.
Yeah. And the surprise interaction part is really cool. I'll be curious to know like what the staying power of that is, right? Because like Slay the Spire is one of the things where it's like there's so much randomness with every run. Like that's kind of where the strategy is trying to pick the probabilities of like this card's probably going to be good in this situation. But with this one, if you know all the relationships or all that's known, I don't know if that will like simplify the strategy where it's like, oh, I always need to do this, because like the way I built the lands have kind of fallen into the same strategy every time.
So depending on how much you want to cheat, quote unquote, I think can really determine it, because there's things where, for example, I mentioned that goblin camps are kind of the bane of my existence. However, goblins can't spawn on towns. So like if as soon as the camp arises, you build like a town right in front of it, then they'll like never be able to spawn. So like it can become a lot more if you play really aggressive with abusing those sorts of interactions, it can kind of get more into that.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Do the goblin camps spawn next to any particular structure, or are they just spawn strictly based off the mountains that you build?
I think goblin camps are completely random.
Okay.
I know some of them definitely have rules. So, for example, like bandit camps.
Yeah, bandit camps. That's right. So you can fight against those, right? Like when you can build things next to the town so that bandit camps don't spawn there. But.
Right. Exactly. There's also some where you can do things where like build something that causes something to spawn. And then use the card you mentioned to remove things, to remove what caused that to spawn, which will cause it to change type.
Okay.
So, for example, there's a card that's basically this like man-eating forest that you can only build next to a forest.
A small town.
Yeah. And if you then destroy the forest, it'll basically become like a starving man-eating forest that's hyper aggressive.
Okay.
This is like the blood forest, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's sweet.
Yeah. So there's a whole there. Definitely, I agree with you. Like, I'm interested to see, but there's. I think it's something that like. I could see it being something that, like, as it goes, it, gets a lot more whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's, like, randomness in what cards you get, so that kind of drives the strategy. Initially, like, I was trying to build everything consecutively because it looks nice and pretty. But with towns, it seems like it makes more sense if you build them, like, evenly spaced out from the finish line so that you get healing as you go around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know.
My biggest complaint with it so far is you eventually get the ability to level up, and every time you level up during a run, you get a perk from the pool. Kind of a slay the spider card. Slay the spider. That would be my game.
That's a sequel.
Kind of deck building type of thing. But the thing is, in order to unlock more perks, you get them from defeating bosses. So each time you defeat a boss, you can choose one of them to unlock or just get some loot. But the problem is, especially the first boss, they're all weaker than just the default. So it actually makes you weaker to unlock them. Yeah, so I'm hoping they do some balance passes. I would love to see DLC for this.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like this is a game that it rewards you going completely crazy in depth on learning its ecosystem.
Oh yeah.
It's not as straightforward as Slay the Spire, but it seems like it kind of draws interest from the same crowd.
Nice. Loop Hero. Yeah,
we're stuck in a loop now.
Did we have anything else to say about Loop Hero? Cool. Let's see here. David, what else have you been playing?
Sure. So that's all I've really been playing from straight up video games. Although a couple of related things. There's a drive-in movie theater in town.
Cool.
That's been doing big business with the whole social distancing thing. So some friends and I went and saw Monster Hunter.
Oh, dang. Nice. Yeah. Okay.
That is a deeply bizarre movie.
I'm sure.
Is that a David Carradine movie?
No, it's actually Tony Jaa.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Mila Jovovich, Tony Jaa. Like, she gets sent back to Monster Hunter times.
Yeah, so she is an army ranger that gets sent back to an alternate dimension that is Monster Hunter.
Is back the right word when you're going to an alternate dimension? Sent through, across, over?
I don't know. I think maybe you sidestep. I guess you slide. Isn't that it? You slider.
Yeah, I think she sliders.
But it's that there's a couple of very confusing decisions in this. That probably being the biggest one,
such as
of like,
why did they make a Monster Hunter movie?
Yeah.
No, I understand why they made a Monster Hunter movie. It's a huge franchise for Capcom.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, I would say overall it is not a particularly great movie. It also is very much kind of half a movie in that it big time sets up for a sequel.
Of course.
But I mean, it does have some things going for it. It has a number of fun kind of like shout outs if you're you like this series. So the Chef Cat from Monster Hunter World shows up.
Cool.
You have Ron Perlman as the like the old man like leader dude from World.
I mean, they were legally obligated to use Ron Perlman in this movie.
Oh yeah. The other one
feels so of a type.
Oh yeah. The other one that's probably, I would say, the most interesting decision and the most, for lack of a better word, like artistic decision or whatever, is the fact that like the characters that other than Mila and Tony Jaa are basically, it's just them for the vast majority of the movie, and they play it pretty straight that since Tony Jaa comes from another dimension, he does not speak English.
Okay.
And so the entire movie is them communicating either via like pantomime or like the handful of words that they manage to teach each other.
Okay.
So it's actually really interesting, pretty entertaining, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that I would say is probably the best part of it if you're gonna say from like a film standpoint. But yeah, overall it's kind of a dumb action movie.
How dependent is it on watching on a giant ass movie screen?
Not too much. I mean, it does do a little bit too much shaky cam, which is too bad. But other than that,
I mean, it being a big dumb action movie, it's hard to hold it against it because that's kind of all that it needed to be with that remit, Like,
oh yeah.
And maybe I'm just saying that, people could say, so why do you expect the Resident Evil movies to be more than big dumb action movies? Because the good Resident Evil games are not always big dumb action games.
Yeah, pro tip, this is a Resident Evil movie.
Okay. Is it directed by Paul W.S. Anderson? Or
I think that's so. The guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the funny things is the various Monster Hunter weapons, they actually have them more or less behave like they do in the game. So randomly bursting into flame and things like that, which is kind of funny.
Do they have the staff that turns into bugs or the spear that turns into bugs?
So they have it for literally about 5 seconds at the end.
Ah, geez.
So like I said, it is very much a movie that sets up for a sequel. The other thing that I was a little bummed about is, I don't know, maybe this is just me. I feel like they kind of highlighted some of the more boring monsters.
Okay.
Most notably, the big bad is a Rathalos, which is basically just a dragon.
Oh.
I know. I like the ones that are the weird, dinosaurs with feathers.
So dinosaurs?
Yep. Yeah. So that my favorite thing about Monster Hunter as a setting is the weird thing that, your characters are like steampunk caveman, but apparently fully understand the theory of evolution and germ theory, and also are hunting dinosaurs. However, they make it very explicit that there are also, in that world, dinosaurs that, just like our world, became extinct long before humanity came around.
They were overhunted by something else.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we have like birds around still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, but they're not going to tear me limb from limb, but I've also seen an ostrich, so I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah. So, interesting thing. The original, like, what are they? Moas or whatever were basically like 9-foot tall killer ostriches that were, live at the same time of as humans, but unfortunately for them, they lived on the same island as the Maori, which is a pretty bad call for not getting killed.
Yeah. Good on the Maori though.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely saved us.
Oh man. Nice. Yeah, I don't know if we'll end up doing that for Adaptation Decay. Neither Gary nor I are especially like well versed in Monster Hunter, so it'd be hard for us to kind of talk about it as an adaptation. So it is neat to hear about it, and cool that you got to go see a movie. Like I didn't go see a lot of movies, but I've started missing popcorn so much that I got like an air popper,
Nice.
Yeah. So
what did you do for the gallons of butter?
I got some stuff to squirt on it. I'm working on other better things, but yeah, no, I missed popcorn and
How do cats
microwave
react
wasn't
to
cut.
popcorn?
No, they don't hang out in the kitchen when it's popping because it's loud.
But then I feel like, do cats eat popcorn? Do they attack popcorn? I feel like that would either be like something that would horrify them, or it would be the best toy ever.
Greta and Dottie seem very disinterested in it. Yeah. So probably lucky. It's not like when I the few times when I come home with ice cream and they're like, "Oh my god, I must have this. I must attack the man for it. I will attack the human for the ice cream." So, Dennis, you're the final person here for us with video games.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a more direct question, but I liked the awkward way that I phrased it.
It's safe to say I've been in the same room with video games and maybe influencing what's happening on the screen with them.
Okay.
Although really, if I'm staying within the designer's intent, I can't really say I'm playing with it. I'm just following. No, I don't know where to go with that. I have doubled down on the Frozen Wilds in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, cool.
And been kind of really playing my way through that. I had hit a level blockage where I had to be I had to be like level 30 to get in, and then there was a bunch of stuff to do, and then all the remaining quests were like 35, 40 and beyond. So I went back to the main game, played through that. I don't know why I am seeing so much new stuff in the main game. Like I'm seeing as much new content or stuff I missed on my first complete playthrough the second time around that it's mind-blowing to me. And I don't remember making this choice, but the only explanation I have is I must have decided to like hardcore role play it and stuck to the main quests because that's what would have been most interesting to Aloy or something like that. Because there's so much stuff now in the main game that I haven't seen before, and it's been really fun. Like this time through, I'm like, this is gonna be my last time through this game, so I'm gonna comb every inch of the world and find everything and all the collectibles and all that. And that's been really enjoyable, and I'm seeing a ton of new stuff. Both emergent and just like finding areas that I hadn't seen before, but also like bespoke quest stuff that I just missed the first time around, I guess. So that's really cool. But then the frozen wilds have gotten to a sufficient level to go back and start knocking out those quests again. And that's been really rewarding and fun. There's a wrinkle where, usually to unlock the map for an area, you have to find a tall neck, which is just like this gigantic but thankfully docile machine dinosaur thing that has a radar dish for a head. You've got to find it, find a way to get onto it, climb up it, and then unlock the radar dish.
So they made the Assassin's Creed towers alive.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It is Siren Head, just way less intimidating than you would think.
Right.
But the interesting thing is always finding a way to get on it, because they are truly skyscraper sized. Mm-hmm. The Frozen Wilds adds a wrinkle in that the one that you find has died, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like it is at some point fallen over against a mountainside, and all these pieces have fallen out of it. And so you have to hunt the surrounding mountainside to find all the pieces, reinstall them to get it up and running, and then chase it down. Well, actually, I should say, I don't know if it's possible to jump on it right when you bring it back to life. My dumb ass was not fast enough to realize, like, oh, I need to get on it now. Wait, come back. And then, I had to go scrambling around. But that was kind of a fun little twist on what you've come to expect from the main game. And it was also some really, really intense and just well set up sections retrieving the pieces. Just from like a gameplay standpoint, I really appreciated the way they kind of gave players multiple routes in for each piece you find. My favorite was one was kind of in a cave. I guess it would have been behind a waterfall if everything wasn't frozen. So that piece is pretty standard video gamey, but there is this really powerful machine called a Scorcher, which is unique to the DLC, in front of the cave. And so you can just charge up the river head on. This is the thing that literally melted the bog you were in, that you fight on your way in, if you guys remember. So you can charge it head on and like fight it, or you can try to set up for an ambush, kind of get above it. Or I found a way to get down this little side nook and just sneak into the cave behind it.
Okay.
Which is what I did. And that is because normally when you set up these fights, you like string the area with wire traps, and you do a ton of setup to make the combat slant in your favor. Mm-hmm. Trying to sneak by it, you can't do any of that. And so if it sees you, you are going to lose that fight because you haven't done any setup. So that was really intense, just creeping like really close to it, sneaking behind. And then you get into the cave, and just around the corner, the part is on another machine, a scrapper.
Okay.
Way less terrifying, but also you can't fight this thing right now because it will alert the Scorcher at the mouth of the cave. And so there's this thing where I'm like literally, I don't know, 15 feet from the Scorcher facing the other direction. And I'm like, all right, how do I kill this scrapper without turning everyone against me? And so like the way I found around it was like I threw a rock deeper into the cave, and tried to get it deep enough that the scrapper would hear it, the Scorcher wouldn't. I then had to basically run out and sit on the Scorcher's tail while the scrapper went past to find the rock, so that the scrapper didn't see me. Then sneak back in and stab the scrapper from behind to get the part.
Sounds like a Benny Hill skit.
It was amazing. Like it was so like it was incredibly tense, and just like I described it in whatever 30 seconds. I probably spent 5 minutes just creeping in that little area. But it was so cool that I felt very accomplished that I was able to pull it off, and then sneaking back out, and like you get to that point where it's like, okay, I'm far enough up the little nook that I feel like I can run, and then you book it out of there. So yeah, just the DLC feels very, very well designed from a gameplay standpoint. There was another one where there were a bunch of Glinthawks, which are flying machines that are guarding the part. And you can actually climb high enough on the mountain that you are attacking them from above. And that's the first time ever in the game that I've been above these birds of prey to attack them. So that was fun. You have essentially a grenade launcher, like a big slingshot that you lob elemental status bombs with. And so I tried to rain down a bunch of shot grenades on them to like shock them, stun them, keep them on the ground. But one kind of got into the air. And I had this amazing moment where I fired this, it's a very slow moving, arcy, loppy projectile, but was able to line up the perfect shot to hit the Glint Hawk with the shock bomb to knock it back to the ground with its friends. So just a lot of fun stuff on that front that I've been doing. So
do you feel like them taking away opportunities to set up a battlefield and plan ahead of time to turn things in your favor, do you feel like that is a good way for them to make things more difficult, just moving that lever? Or does that feel like them kind of leaning away from one of the game's kind of core best strengths?
Yeah, I mean, the setup is absolutely a strength, but I wouldn't say they took it away, because I could have fought the Scorcher head on if I wanted to, and like just set traps at the mouth of the river, or at the mouth of the entrance to the kind of back area of the river, run past that, shoot it in the face, and then run back through the traps and have it chase me. So it is, I think, a strength that they are giving you other options to that, key strength of the game in the setup, without taking away. So I was never overtly like, you can't trap this area. It was just open enough that I saw other ways through.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like, games giving you agency is a good thing. That's what's special about games.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Frozen Wilds. I'm tearing through that. So I don't know how much content to expect, but I'm enjoying it and expect to be talking about it again soon. And then the other game that I checked out actually just before we recorded today, the beta went up for Magic Legends.
Oh boy, that's a title.
Yeah, which is the most awfully named thing. If it wasn't actually, in one of those franchises that make those names completely ungoogleable. So yeah, Magic Legends, which is the Diablo style game that is set in the Magic the Gathering universe.
I'm so sorry. You should put more of a pause. Magic Legends. Because, yeah, because this is Magic : subtitle Legends. Okay.
Yeah. How do you enunciate a colon?
I mean, so maybe they don't want to call it, and Ben could probably tell us why. Maybe there's a reason why they don't want to call it Magic the Gathering Legends.
Just more verbose, I would guess. I don't know. I don't have any inside information.
Video game titles have never been afraid of being verbose.
Yeah.
I mean, are you gathering in this one?
Too early to say. There is loot. There is precious little loot compared to what I'm used to.
Yeah.
In any game like this. But there's a lot of other creative stuff going on. So yeah, Diablo style game in the Magic the Gathering universe. And I don't know nearly enough about that lore to say, how it's set in the universe. I just trust that when they say like, this is a Magic game, it's like, okay, I'm sure some of these names they're dropping Magic the Gathering players would recognize. But
if you go to a store, they only have one item. It is a Black Lotus, and it is 13,000 gold.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. There's no way that would be early game content. I'm sure there's a Black Lotus in here somewhere, but it's got to be in the late game. Yeah, this is also like, it is a very beta game, and I'm not talking about because it doesn't boss other people around. I guess I've just been spoiled. I'm used to when like I see it says this game is in beta, or this game is early access, that it's actually going to be fairly polished. Like beta especially for a large company kind of means soft launch in my mind, or like, like we've got everything here. It's all pretty prime, but we just want.
Ever since Gmail broke the term.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we just want something to fall back on in case the pitchforks come out.
Right.
But this is a very beta game to where like the pathfinding, like you're clicking on the ground and your character goes where you click, except there doesn't seem to be the intelligence that keeps them from catching on random tiny pieces of geometry. Or that, if you click to something that is not in the walkable area but is on screen, there seems to be like this, they'll reach the edge of where they can walk, and then they'll kind of like oscillate back and forth, like they're trying to find a better path. But it's just not an area they can get to, so they just move back and forth real quick. Which, when the camera is like very closely locked to their movements, makes it very hard to click on anything else because suddenly everything's swimming around. So just from like usability standpoints, there's some stuff that I have to imagine they're going to iron out, because there's no way that this is the final intent for character movement and some other stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, if you go check it out, I'm gonna now compliment it, but just be aware it is very rough, and very much feels like something that is a work in progress, versus the polish that you might expect from a large company beta game.
Yeah.
Also, who's doing Magic the Gathering? I don't know if it's an in-house.
That was going to be my next question. I'm literally Googling it right now.
Yeah, I should have looked that up before I ran my mouth, but
yeah.
it almost like it feels like they might be muddling through some of this stuff that just a more native game company or someone with more credits to their more notches in their belt will say.
No, they're not slouches. It's Cryptic, the people who did City of Heroes, Champions Online, Star Trek Online, and Neverwinter. So like they've got lots of, if not ultimately successful games under their belt, competently put together games.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I like Cryptic. So there's that rough stuff. But the thing that I really like is the way they've weaved the kind of feel of playing a deck building game into the experience. So every character has your kind of two core moves that you always have access to. My Hearthstone background says it's their hero powers, right? Mm-hmm. Where those are just always in your tray. You will always be able to use those. Your other moves, however, are drawn from a pool of special abilities that you construct, your deck, if you will. And when you cast that ability, it gets thrown back into the pool and a new one gets drawn out. And it's kind of funny. The game feels like it kind of really bobs and weaves to not call it a deck and not drawing cards from a deck. Mm-hmm. It's just really committed to the idea that it's in the Magic universe, but the mechanics of the Magic universe are not. No one's aware of those.
Please, my father was Magic. My father was Magic the Gathering. Just call me Magic.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that kind of mentality of, okay, I'm going to use this, but then I don't know when I'm going to see it again, or I'm going to use this, or I want something different, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be, creates really interesting decisions while you're playing the game, particularly because the design they're going for is that a lot of the moves that get pulled into your tray will complement or combo with your two hero power moves. And so it's like, okay, I want to use it this way, that's optimal, but I just cast one of my hero power moves. That's not up. So do I spend the move from my tray because it would be useful right now, or do I try to hang on to it until I get a hero power back up and get the most value out of it?
Okay.
And having that level of thinking running throughout the gameplay, when in this type of game usually you're at most just managing cooldowns, is really, really interesting. Like, that's fun. And I haven't customized my pool of moves yet. But I can totally see once I get enough to be at that point, that's going to be really interesting and fun to talk about. Like, well, how many copies of Wave Dash or whatever do you want to have in your pool versus whatever else? So it still feels very true to the Diablo style of game. Like, there's a lot of roguelikes, or it feels like every game plus deck builder is kind of the way to go right now. But it truly feels like a deck builder has kind of been stapled into it. And maybe it's just because they haven't called it a deck that I'm buying in so much. So there you go, marketing. But it really does feel like that it's a bit more of a thoughtful implementation. You only ever have 4 moves in your tray. So it's not like you're drawing up a huge hand of cards. The moves always replace themselves. So, you don't have to worry about, expending them in the wrong way. Like, you don't lose the card or lose the move forever when you cast it. So there's a lot of concessions that keep it feeling very true to the Diablo side. But that simple addition of, like, I have uncertainty in what moves are going to be available to me, but I also have agency on what ones I hold on to for key moments, is kind of taking the best or most relevant part out of a deck builder for this genre, and they do that very well.
Nice.
Yeah. The one downside of that is that the location for a given move on your keyboard, like what button to press, changes depending on when it pops up in your tray. So like I said, at full, when you unlock it all, you have 4 moves that can be up at any time, and your, explosion blast or whatever might be on key 2, for the first time, and key 4 the second time, and weave around on the keyboard. So there is some learning that needs to be done in terms of, like, first being able to just recognize the icon for the move and know that's what it is, and then get used to kind of quickly checking which button to press when you want to use it. And already after an hour and a half of play, it's starting to feel a lot more natural. But there were definitely a couple times in the tutorial where I cast the wrong thing just because I was like, well, the last time I hit 1 for that, and it's not 1. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, once they get it more, get all the, I hesitate to call it quality of life stuff, but once they finish building it, I guess, and all the small pieces like movement and all that, there's a really fun premise behind this that I'll be excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
This game feels very confusing to me. I mean, I guess it's appealing perhaps to Magic players who are more into the fantasy end of things, I guess. But
yeah, do those exist? Is that like a thing?
Yeah, there's some people who are into it. Or yeah, there's some people. It varies though. It's like 50-50. Like for as many people like that playing Magic, you also have like engineering type people who are just really into the game mechanics of Magic. But
yeah, I have to imagine it's slanted towards the latter. Like that's just kind of the ethos. But my goodness, if you're in the former, like there's so much exposition on Merfolk in the first area that you're gonna love it.
Yeah, like each like card set has like accompanying backstory for like what's going on in the lore of the universe and stuff. But like most of the time, people just ignore it. So
yeah.
There's also like novelizations and stuff set in that world.
Really?
And this is not the first time that they have done a Magic the Gathering game that is set within the fiction. Like
really, what one are you thinking of?
School game.
Yeah, there was a 1997 game developed by Microprose that you were in the world, but when you did battles, it was done using the cards that were available at the time and the rule sets.
Do you remember the name of it by any chance?
It was literally just called Magic the Gathering. There was Duels of the Planeswalkers, which was that wasn't in fiction though. Yeah, but there was definitely the Windows 95 one that is to my understanding very good.
Nice.
I think Chandelar, that was the one that I was thinking of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah.
Do you pick classes, or like are you picking a hero that is kind of based on one of the colors of
you do.
Yeah.
You pick classes, and so they hewed kind of close to what you would expect in like a Diablo. I went with the Geomancer, which was just kind of the brute brawler person.
Do you remember their name?
They came with a suggested name, and it looked like it might have been randomly generated. I don't know, but because there was such an elaborate name, I felt compelled to replace it, and I named my Geomancer Jeffrey, spelled Geo FFRY. Thank you. Bonk Hands.
Bonk Hands.
Jeffrey Bonk Hands is running around. So tell me when there's a card with Jeffrey on it, then maybe I'll be interested.
Let me see here. Yeah, one of them. One of the games had Chandelar in the title, but I can't find specifically which one. That might have been like the fan update of the 97 one as well. Okay. There was one of those. Neat. Is this ultimately going to be like Neverwinter, where it is meant to be an online game played with other people with kind of a free to play economy stacked on top of it?
Yeah, and actually, even in the little bit I played, I was instanced into a dungeon with other players, and that worked really well. Like it was very smooth. Didn't have to wait. Now this is day one of it being out, so of course there's a ton of people playing it. But I have faith, given that it's a Magic the Gathering game, that the community will stay pretty large. Everyone is just figuring out what's going on, so there wasn't the like you should be doing this aspect to play yet. That was nice. And it felt cool to kind of careen around with two other people and make lots of colors, kill monsters, which is kind of the ethos of the game.
I wonder when they're going to do an online RPG about the Hearthstone stuff.
Yeah, that would be a moneymaker.
Yeah.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where normally we ask you a question and then you answer it. But we have decided this time it was going to be a free play. First free play in a little while here. This is where we give you an opportunity to do a Q&A with us, either pertaining to video games or not. And I will get us started here with Roop, who asks, best hot chocolate recipe? For me, cocoa powder, milk, mint vodka, marshmallow, and sprinkle some coffee grounds on top. That makes my gorge rise.
Yeah.
It makes me think too much about that one.
Gorges rise?
No, that's what you say. Which is like when you're kind of like, it makes me think of that birthday, the birthday where we drank too much and we poured. Or I guess I drank too much.
Schnapps.
Yeah, the peppermint schnapps.
Say one of us drank too much.
Peppermint specifically.
Yeah. Into some Swiss Miss.
Did you have work the next day?
What's that?
Didn't you have like work the next morning?
Oh yeah, I did. I was on the air the next morning. So yeah, I would I would do the hop on for the top and bottom of the hour and do the weather, do the do the station ID, talk about what was coming up, and I would say, and now it is into the volunteers for hour number 2 of the Cincinnati Enquirer. I would turn off the microphone. I would dash around to the other side of the building where the bathrooms were.
Oh no!
Throw up and then come back around. Yeah, it was something else. But I was on the air and I did make it into work on time. So I guess if you like your hot chocolate recipe, that I'm very happy that brings back bad peppermint schnapps related memories. And I love peppermint, but I've not had peppermint schnapps in basically since then, in the 10 years since we did that. I mean, cocoa powder and milk is really hard to go wrong with. I don't like it to be too sweet, if I make it. So yeah. Do you guys have any killer hot chocolate recipes?
Same recipe, but I also use a milk frother, and that's really nice too.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm a big fan of mocha. Like, I can't tell you the last time I've had hot chocolate without something coffee in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I like hot chocolate. However, I am a very boring hot chocolater. So I'm generally either A, whatever the machine at work makes, or B, pack of Swiss Miss.
Yeah, or stop at I'll get a Starbucks hot chocolate, which is usually fine. Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, I had a friend give me hot chocolate recently that was ladled out of a crock pot. And it has to be the richest stuff I've ever tasted. Like, they probably just threw in a bunch of Hershey bars and turned on the crock pot until it melted. Like, that's what it tasted like. It was that intense.
Were there churros nearby, and were they supposed to be dipped into the crock pot of chocolate sauce?
No, I don't think there were. And then especially given COVID times, I would have been very worried if there were.
Probably.
That's the thing, though. Some countries will just drink liquid chocolate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the drink.
That was the style. And it's the kind of thing where I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going to give myself a giant cup. And then you get like a halfway through the cup and you're like,
nope.
Made a terrible mistake.
I love it so much, but I cannot finish this.
So rich.
I have a tummy ache.
I thought if I make a White Russian with a like chocolate flavored coffee liqueur, does that count as hot chocolate?
I mean, if you made it,
no, but it is a sandwich technically.
Isn't how you make a Black Russian?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I thought that was just like no cream.
Yeah, no, vodka and coffee liqueur. Maybe if you use some kind of like chocolate milk instead of the cream, it would be,
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's some similar idea cocktail I had that was like a chocolate liqueur.
Yeah,
I think it's close enough.
Yeah, or do a white Russian with chocolate ice cream. Would be a good one as well.
That sounds good.
Again, super rich, but you're not meant to drink more than one White Russian, or else you'll die. Moving on. Allison writes, "What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?" I want to ask Ben. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I'll say Funny Games US was a movie that I had to like pause multiple times and like go do something else.
Yeah.
I know it's not the scariest movie ever. Like I know I've seen Reddit threads of like all miserable movies that are out there.
Serbian film, all that. Yeah.
But that, for me personally, that was the most disturbing movie I've seen. So, yeah.
How about you, Dennis? You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this question is distinctly colored by the like age you came to it. Like
yes.
There's the prime age for like seeing something that just freaks the shit out of you and does not leave your mind. Imprintable.
I can't watch Pet Sematary because I saw it at way too young of an age. Like my mom and stepdad were watching it and they didn't make me leave the room.
Oh no.
Yeah, I just said, oof.
That'll get you. Yeah. So I think I was the perfect age for horror movie imprints when I saw The Exorcist.
Okay.
And that one has stuck with me. So
it's a good answer. David, how about you?
So I'm not a big horror movie person. So I don't have much to draw on. Probably my favorite horror movie, if nothing else, is The Thing.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And that's legitimately like scary as well.
Yeah.
The dog kennel scene.
Yeah.
That's
not enjoyable.
I mean the blood test scene, one of the tensest scenes that you're going to see,
I would say if you wanted to go with just most upsetting movie, Old Boy probably ranks up there.
Yeah, I would call that. Yeah, I would say that fits. The most scary movie that I've seen recently in terms of like getting a physical reaction out of me, Hereditary. I know that's a basic answer, but like it's really hard to explain just how off guard you get, or I got when I watched that movie. There's a certain point, let's just say at the side of the road, where the movie ceases being what you think it's going to be and turns into something else entirely. And the last 20 minutes of that movie are some of the most intense and outright horrific that I have seen. We're going to be revisiting it for Unfilmable here at some point, probably this year, and I'm looking forward to it. But it's also like, even knowing what's coming, it's going to be a lot.
That movie is like an instant classic.
Yeah. If you're looking for something a little bit more obscure, this again is something we've done for Unfilmable, which is just an excuse for me to watch horror movies and talk about them. But it's a movie from 1981 starring Sam Neill. It is a German production. It is called Possession. And it is a horror movie about a marriage that is falling apart very, very badly. And Lovecraftian stuff starts getting involved. It has some of the most distressing performances that I've seen. It is there is no line in the movie that is not shouted. It's incredibly.
Are you sure
good.
That's not just German?
No, it's done in English.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a French director. It takes place in Berlin. It takes place in a divided Berlin, and that kind of is a part of it. But yeah, if you're looking for something that's not as much of a basic movie, because Allison, pretty good bet she's already seen Hereditary. Possession would be the one I would throw in on. Yeah. Alex writes, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Just kidding. What kind of music have you lovely people been bumping lately? I recently got back into pop punk from this band Hot Mulligan. There's a link to a music video here, but I love hearing what others are into. I've been on a Godspeed You Black Emperors kick lately. So by lately, I mean for the past few months.
Huh.
Yep.
So we have been, because all my music is filtered through what I'm sharing with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
We've been delving into Queen lately.
Oh, cool.
Just kind of rediscovering that. So that's been, I think primarily they just like We Will Rock You, but I always play through the entire, greatest hits CD.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been playing a lot of Queen in the house.
Nice.
How do you even do a greatest hits CD for them?
Yeah, it's very, very long.
It's just their discography. Yeah.
I got a music recommendation from my coffee shop. It was the band called Salt, but it's spelled Sault. But then I found out NPR gave them like album of the year last year, so then I felt less cool.
It's hard. Finding new music is hard. Yeah.
So I'm in a weird spot. I didn't really like grow up listening to music, or like that's not really a thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But my friends in town are really into, I guess, goth music. Is kind of their scene.
What qualifies as goth music?
I have no idea. I guess I don't know music.
The music my friends are into.
Yeah.
So I've just been listening to stuff that they enjoy, which has been interesting.
Nice.
I want to see what goth music is, so I'm looking it up.
I would,
So one of the bands they liked was it Switchblade Symphony?
That sounds like a goth band.
Yeah.
Very gothic, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe what is it? My Bloody Valentine would probably fit in there. Yeah, maybe. Dark Wave. So yeah, just anything from the darker side of from post rock. So or from post punk rather would be a good way. Like what else? What falls into gothic? I'm very curious.
Would Crystal Castles be goth music?
What's that?
Would Crystal Castles be goth music?
I don't know. Yeah, so Sushi and the Banshees, Joy Division, Bauhaus. I could see that as far as classic stuff. Yeah, that'll make sense. The Cure, obviously. We had a network gathering one year. One of the first times we got together at a bar in Portland. We went to a goth bar called Lovecraft Bar, is what it was. We were there on it wasn't a goth bar, but they had a goth night, and we were there with all these aging goth scene people, and it was really cool. But then the music got incredibly loud, and the fog got very thick, and it got very difficult to have conversation. So, and it is.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and just all these nerds being very out of place.
Yeah, it is so rare to like accidentally find yourself in a subculture anymore. That is a fascinating experience.
Everybody was super cool. Like any of them that I talked to who was just kind of at the edge of the gathering. Yeah. Cool. That was a good question. We got a lot of media. Let's move on to another media one here. Eli says, I'm finally digging into King of the Hill. So what is your favorite animated television show? King of the Hill's probably up there. Simpsons is probably most influential. And the one I've been into most recently and most consistently, Bob's Burgers, let's say. And basically,
I'm going to take a step left of that and say Archer.
Oh,
which,
okay. Yeah.
Both have H. John Benjamin and are fantastic.
Yeah.
BoJack Horseman for me.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
So for me, probably my favorite is Futurama. The one I've been digging recently is Netflix's remake of She-Ra is actually really good.
Cool.
Can we get an honorable mention for Adventure Time too?
Yeah, Adventure Time. That feels like mixed in. No, the She-Ra thing is Steven Universe people, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct me. I may be wrong. Ollie writes, "What video game protagonist do you think you could take in a fight? And which video game character would you least like to get into a scrap with?"
Oh man.
Let's say let's go Old Snake for one I think I could take, and one I don't think I could take, Solid Snake. I would not want to be in a fight with Solid Snake. Yeah. I could go into like supernatural powers or whatever. I don't want to deal with anything like that. That's just a person who could honestly beat the shit out of me. So let's just keep it basic there.
Mm-hmm. I would revel in beating up any me, like any me character. Just, they look like punching bags, and I feel like they'd be very satisfying to wail on.
But their arms are mostly invisible. It'd be really hard to see what they're about to do.
I mean, I'm sure there is a Wii Sports boxing out there where I could test this theory.
Yes.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. David, how about you?
I mean, most fun to fight, depending on what you're into, would probably be like Bayonetta. Not saying I'd win.
I don't think winning would be the point.
No, the point would be on the shoes.
Jesus.
I know, like, could I, for like a Dark Horse one, could I just say Ryu and just declare myself the winner for like actually having a life?
Ryu from Street Fighter?
Yeah.
Does he not have a life?
No, that's like his main character trait is every other character in the show has a life except him.
Oh, huh. Okay.
My backstory is the writers ran out of time.
So I think for me, I'm just trying to think of children video game protagonists. So I think we'll go with the opening of Heavy Rain, I guess. And then for anyone I couldn't take, anyone with a weapon, the bar is very low for who could take me.
Yeah.
So anyone else in Heavy Rain besides the children?
I could fucking ruin the protagonist from oh gosh, game where you're playing as a kid. It's nighttime. Fuck.
Beyond the Sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Among the Sleep. But yeah, I could ruin the kid from among the Sleep.
I could also beat up the old man who's having a heart attack in as well.
In which game?
Heavy Rain.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Character I would not want to fight or just would not want to run into would probably be like, I don't know, something from one of the SCP games.
Yeah, the statue that you can't look at. Yeah.
Something like that.
Greg writes, "What's the weirdest breaking the fourth wall thing you've encountered in a game? Mine was in a game of NCAA football, which is taken so serious and matter of fact. One game, I started losing 21-0, and the announcer said that games like this sometimes make you want to hit the reset button. It totally surprised me. I did not quit that game. I ended up winning with a 50-yard field goal as time ran out, 35-34. Congrats on that."
I was going to say, you are, I think, one of 3 people in the universe that play those games on a hard enough difficulty to not just be a blowout every time.
Yup. That's the only reason I would play those games, is to feel good about myself, to feel like a big man.
My Hail Marys hit every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was playing the game Pony Islands, which is a indie horror game where like you are playing an arcade game that is haunted by the devil and he's messing with you. Like at one point he asks you to like, okay, the password for the next thing is the most offensive word you can think of.
Oh no.
Yeah. And so you just type in something, and then you go on, and then the game makes it look like somebody on your friends list who's online messages you and says, "Dude, what the hell?" or something like that. Like, I saw that, so somebody, so it was like a fan who, probably saw me write, like, I don't know, boner farts or something like that. And I messaged him and I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know you were watching." And he's like, "No, what?" And I explained what it was. And he said, "Yeah, I didn't message you. It's just a thing the game does if you're playing it on Steam."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Is make you think that one of your friends saw what you wrote, which is ingenious.
Yeah. Wow. The rabbit hole of like what they can do if they're allowed to tap into your friends list is kind of scary. Don't want to think about that too much. Yeah. It makes me think, I forget what game it was. I saw an article about how, like, all these people it was some smut game people would buy and then hide the fact, hide it from their library or whatever.
Yeah.
But it would still show up as like, so and so recommends this game in the algorithm. It's not in my library, but check it out.
It's just I've heard good words about Honey Pop.
Yeah.
I actually don't play that. I think it's made by Gamergate people. How about you, Ben? Fourth wall breaking stuff.
Yeah, nothing terribly interesting comes to mind. I mean, any like Kojima game. I guess since we've been talking about it, the part where old Snake has to remember the code that they tell him, and they don't like tell you that ahead of time. That's like a fun treat. But there's like thousands of things like that in any of those games. So.
Yeah, it's kind of it's his thing.
Blanket answer.
David?
So I think probably the best for me, and this isn't an original answer now, but was when I played it, was Eternal Darkness.
Yeah.
Although I think what actually I'll specifically call out what made that wasn't so much just, the game actually messing with you, but was reading the support site of like all the things not to call them about.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, that is good. I don't know if this one counts, but in most recent memory, we're still playing The Witcher 3. And there's a part in that where, like, it's some cutscene and the valet is teaching you how to bow, and then it checks your knowledge on it. It asks you asks you to put in like the steps to bow. Mm-hmm. And I'm playing that with Jen. We're kind of chatting and stuff on the side, so neither of us were paying enough attention. We definitely did not get the bow right, but kind of knowing that you're not thinking to look for that or not expecting the game to quiz you on that.
Yeah.
I feel like, does anyone really expect a Witcher to know how to bow?
That's part of the amusement of that mission. Mm-hmm. Is he is
Shadow Water.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to play dress up with my Witcher. Yeah, who am I kidding? I totally was. That's the fun of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but all the big fourth wall breaking things that come to mind are very like intentional. Or my favorite is probably Deadpool in Capcom versus Marvel.
Oh yeah.
That his super he literally like starts breaking off pieces of the UI to beat his opponent up with, which is pretty great.
Yeah, hitting somebody with his own health bar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're running a little long here, so I'm going to do one, and then we're going to save the rest of these for later on. I'll just continue here. Callum writes, considering the recent-ish discussion of Fallout food, what is the weirdest food you have tried in real life? Was it okay? Mine would be fried crickets, which are passable chip substitutes. Though my friend ate deep fried tarantula on that trip, that was less okay. I mean, wouldn't deep fried tarantula? I've heard that spiders, if you cook them up, they taste like prawns.
Man, I would not want to find out.
Yeah, like if you just deep fried a whole tarantula and ate it hair and all, that'd be pretty awful. But yeah.
So when I was living in Chinatown, I had fried fish skin, which is actually really good. It's basically like potato chips.
Okay.
And then I think it was I can't remember if it was chicken feet or pork feet, but that also actually was very good. So yeah, so far all the weird stuff I've had has been a positive experience.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for this. I don't have an answer. It's tough. It's tough for me. I'm really sensitive to, like, to textures and things like that. So probably like the most out there would be like alligator jerky. But the thing about jerky is, it's just jerky flavor and consistency. So
yeah.
So,
Mine would be.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
So, question: in the future, where we can't have lab grown meat, would you eat lab grown people meat?
Oh, interesting.
Zero interest.
Yeah, I don't see what the upside of that would be. If you don't like it, then you ate something that's bad. If you do like it, that's problematic.
Well, if you do like it, you can just continue buying more of the fake human meat. I don't have any ethical concerns about it. It just I don't know. I'm not that adventurous. I like the I like the handful of animals we have deemed it acceptable to eat, even though it's generally not acceptable in a lot of circumstances, for sustainability reasons, etc.
Sure.
How about you, David?
Yeah.
Like, would you?
Yeah, I think I'd give that a shot. Try anything once.
Yeah. There was somebody here who didn't answer the weird food. Yeah.
I stopped saying, yeah.
Yeah, Dennis, go ahead.
I'll go for in Peru. I had guinea pig.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which is like it was like chicken wings, and it is apparently like a birthday treat. And I just feel for all the little girls in Peru who said they wanted a guinea pig for their birthday. Like, a very difficult situation.
Tough to clear. It's like trying to throw away a trash can, Yeah.
Yeah, but what about you, Ben?
So I have like two answers. One is I tried sesame dumplings, and that's not like weird in the. It's weird in like a different direction or whatever, but it tastes delicious. It's like peanut butter. It's very tasty, but it looks very off-putting. You have to convince people to try it because it's like black and grainy and stuff like that, and it looks like you're eating kind of weird stuff. But but I have one story where I went with coworkers. We went to Chinatown in our city, and it was like a hot pot place. But what was fun about it is there were Americans there, there's some Indians, there's some Chinese people, and like you could see the cultural, like where people's thresholds for what they were interested in eating was like, because we ordered a bunch of stuff and all threw it in the hot pot, but then it's like certain people were just like not eating anything the entire night, and then certain people, it was pretty fun, but yeah.
So I went
Squid is my limit, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I went to a service at a Sikh temple once, and like one of their things is after every service they have a communal meal, and it's all vegetarian. It's all amazing, but we're sitting there and ate this like bright red pepper, just tried it, and the Indian guy next to me looks over and says, "Did you just eat that?" I said, "Yeah." He just starts laughing. Apparently it was just some like crazy hot pepper that you weren't supposed to actually eat.
Okay. But you like very hot food.
I do. It was all right. The other thing that was funny to me, at least, is it was all, super authentic Indian food, but then for dessert was like prepackaged ice cream sandwiches. Which was great, but like it was just funny to me.
Yeah,
it's the universal treat.
That sounds great. Yeah,
you got to pick your battles.
Honestly, some of the best food I've ever had.
What kind of pepper was it, by the way? I'm
not sure. It looked like if you ever have like Szechuan chicken, those little peppers. I don't know that necessarily was, but that's what it looked like.
Gotcha.
It's that kind that makes it very difficult to remember new words directly after eating it.
Guatemalan insanity peppers. Yeah. That's just a Simpsons reference. That's not me being clever at all. Oh. Yeah, thank you everybody for putting in. Free play is always real fun. We will I will disperse the rest of them when we get to a multiplayer that's probably a little bit less well responded to, but good thought-provoking questions all, even if they were minimally about video games. But we are well-rounded people, damn it. Sometimes we eat a real hot pepper. If you would like to participate in the future, go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. Thank you for putting this up, Dennis.
Yeah, this is meta, but I had the thought that if you responded to a normal multiplayer question with a free play question, we'd probably discuss and answer it on the air.
Yeah, probably, if it was mixed in.
Don't tell them that. Now they know our weakness.
If it's in a comment form, I have to read it. The End Boss. Now it is time for the End Boss, where we talk about the things that are happening in the world of video games that are exciting to us. Dennis, give us a little bit of a reminder or an update on what's going on with the XCOM book.
Yeah, so exciting to me and other people who might like the series. There is a book about the development of the early original XCOM games coming out. It's called Monsters in the Dark, which is funny because I was looking this up for the show and remembered the title, Googled that, but it is also the title of like a shitty teen romance series. So you gotta qualify that it's the XCOM Monsters in the Dark. But yeah, after reading Masters of Doom, that kind of wet my whistle for this kind of book, this kind of storytelling and biographical work, and this XCOM Monsters in the Dark seems to hit that spot perfectly. So the Kickstarter is going on now. It is going until April 8th, so you have some time to check it out. It's already funded though, so it's a sure bet that it's happening, and
cool.
It looks to be really good reading. So if you like XCOM, if you like the stories behind games, this is something to check out.
Yeah, I am curious. I want to see the art. I want to see like good, crunchy CRPG art if they manage to include that.
Yeah, it's primarily through the lens. I'm looking for his name. It's Julian Gollop is the kind of co-creator of XCOM. That was at the very heart of that series, especially in its first incarnation. So it's mostly told through the story of him. Masters of Doom is a very apt analogy where that's kind of told through the Johns. So I don't know if they'll get into art. I'm sure there'll be interesting stuff in there regardless.
Nice. Let's see here. I've got one that honestly I'm pretty annoyed about, and this is more of just a PSA than anything. It is rumored, and a lot of different sites have kind of corroborated and talked about this, that Sony will be closing down the PSN stores for first the PSP and the PS3 on July the 2nd, and then the PlayStation Vita on August the 27th, meaning you will not be able to buy new digital games, which is a bummer because, that's the way you get most of the good stuff on those systems, especially the PS Vita. It's unclear right now if you're going to be able to re-download games, or like, I don't know, maybe if you wanted to get DLC for a game that you already bought, you might not be able to buy that. This just sucks and like eliminates the ability to digitally buy and engage with games spanning and release from like 2007 to like 2017 or something like that. It's like, hey, 10 years of games gone. Later, boners.
What is the upkeep cost of keeping something like this open?
I have no idea. It's either going to be, it's either staggeringly high or staggeringly low. What I think is there's some dipshit who's just like, if we support these old systems for too long, it cannibalizes the new business. you know, and that is an uncharitable read, but like this is just like hostile. Like
I wonder.
Someone got their bonus by cutting cutting some expenses.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. There's like upkeep to this service, right? And the people who wrote this are probably long gone at this point. And so there's probably the reason why they want to do it is they have fewer and fewer people who understand like how this works. And they have to still like have upkeep for any time that there's something that goes wrong with the software and stuff like that. And it's becoming less and less of profitable for them. And that's probably why they're shutting it down.
I'm sure there's virtually no one buying it.
It's like this with everything, you know. It's like this, like, you know, Apple Music or like Google's music and stuff like that. So it's like just kind of like a preview of things to come. Is if you buy things that are like on an as needed basis, thing can shut down eventually. And so
so what about Steam? That's still running strong.
But I mean, it's still selling millions and millions of dollars worth of video games, whereas like these systems are probably not moving that amount of revenue, right?
Yeah, I know on some level it's a privilege to have access to a console of a current generation, but I wonder how many of the games truly don't have any other way to buy them. Like, you know, how many of these PS3 games that we're losing with the store shutting down don't have any equivalent either on PS4 and PS5 or just like on another platform because it was released across multiple platforms.
It gets really hairy with PSN with PSP and PS Vita games is the biggest thing. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if there was
if they don't find a way to like get those onto other things. I mean, realistically, I probably will crack my PS Vita because it's too good of a system to stop using entirely, right?
Oh, yeah. You know? Do the right thing, kids. Pirate games.
But that's because I use it for work too. This is just bad from a preservation kind of feeling.
I mean, especially when there's hardware of 6 touch screens and 3 cameras and all that weirdness that made for some really cool gaming experiences that you cannot replicate even through simulation,
right?
Or emulation.
Yeah. So maybe the outcry will be enough to get them to modify their behavior. I have no idea. Who knows? Maybe the decision's been made and it's already under. The wheels are already turning. This just feels like a real bummer. It's the ultimate takeaway. It's a real bummer, and I feel powerless.
Yeah, I had my first taste of this when Google Music moved to YouTube Music, where they'll just serve you ads in between songs that you have purchased, and it's hey, no, don't do that.
That's
not acceptable.
Broke, Google.
Yeah. Yuck. What is this thing you got here, David? Oh shit! Yeah. Hey, David, can you run Doom in a font?
No, you cannot. However, you can run Pokemon.
This is wild. This is so crazy.
Yeah. So apparently, fonts have built into them the ability to do scripting in order to, as I understand it, like handle kind of the all the wherefores of more complex languages. I don't know.
Yeah, or like handling joinings and stuff like that. Like if these two letters are right next to each other, use these alternate versions of both so that it looks like a continuous line between them, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And someone figured out, hey, I can use that to make a video game. And the internet being what it is, they did. And so the game they made is called Fontimon, which is kind of a Pokemon battler type. You can enjoy... I love the names of the characters. So
Sanscarif is very good.
Yeah, Scorier, Papyromaniac. Sanscarif. Just it's mainly just a tech stunt, but it does truly work, and it is kind of fun also because that means you can play it anywhere that has fonts. So like, in your browser, in Microsoft Word, whatever.
Yeah, he has a little browser. God, it just runs in the browser. This is so good.
Papyromaniac, Verandanda.
God bless free time. Yeah, this is coderelay.io/fontemon.html. Very neat. Yeah. And then finally, Ben, what do you got for us?
I got a bunch of small news items. One is a game is coming out, and one is a game is not coming out for a while. So Among Us, the update is slated to come out on March 31st, and I guess I lost track of what time it was because I was like, oh, it'll be out in a couple of months. And oh wait, that's next week. It'll be out next week.
Yeah, no, I've lost a month already. I think that earlier today I said the next month was March. So yeah.
And then an other news item, Gotham Knights is delayed to 2022. This is the next game in the Arkham series. It's being handled by the people who made Arkham Origins, which was kind of like inserted between two of the Rocksteady Arkham games.
Mm-hmm.
Not really like huge forward to this game because I was kind of mad on Arkham Origins, but it's getting delayed. The fun detail about that is since it's coming out in 2022, that's the same year that Rocksteady's game of the Suicide Squad is going to come out as well. So it's like a weird competing interest or whatever, but whatever.
Yeah. There's going to be different things because the Gotham Knights is going to be more of an online, like the Avengers game kind of thing.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're probably not right. Nerds will get tired of their obsession if you give them too much of it.
And then the last news story, I didn't paste it, but I thought I'd bring it up, is Microsoft might be in talks to buy Discord, which is what we use to record. So that has potential for being sad.
They fucking bought Skype and didn't invest in that, and it turned to shit. Now they're going to buy this.
I brought this up to a friend today, but he pointed out they bought GitHub and they didn't mess with that, so it could be okay.
Could be okay. Yeah, but the Microsoft that
people on GitHub know how to write viruses for their system.
The Microsoft who would be buying Discord is very different than the Microsoft who bought Skype in terms of leadership.
Microsoft and Apple switch places.
I would trust current day Microsoft more than when the Skype deal went down. So maybe that won't be bad, but I don't want to find another thing to record with, man. That would suck.
I just don't want advertisements on Discord. I'll be sad when that happens.
Cool. Well, how do you all feel about buttoning it up?
Let us button.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This has been a fun episode, especially after being gone for a week. We're looking forward to coming back next time and seeing you there, too. I'm trying to think of new stuff. Dennis, what's going on with Deck of Wonders?
Nothing too crazy. Actually, the day after we record this, I am releasing a new piece of concept art.
Cool.
We've crossed another milestone for late pledges, and every time we do that, I release new art. So that is exciting.
Yeah, and if people want to pledge late to your single player legacy style card deck building game, sorry, I messed up your log line. How would they do that?
You hit it. Yeah. So you can go to search for the game on GameFound, or go to deckofwondersgame.com, and you'll find all the links you need.
Nice. And as far as this show, the stuff that you can do, ratings, reviews. Hi, Dottie. Go to patreon.com, support there.
Ratings, reviews, pet your cat.
Yes. Pet any animals or hug any loved ones that you can. Yeah, I think I'm good leaving on that. So
no, seriously, we get a royalty.
Every time you hug somebody, we invented hugs. I bought the patent on hugs.
Patent hugs, yeah.
I've been Kole Ross. You can see me on Twitter at Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia. You can find me on Instagram at Deck of Wonders. That's where all the best content goes up.
I'm David Maismith. Just find me somewhere.
I'm Ben Merkel here.
Yeah. And stick around for some titles. All right, I have two. I have Ticket to Mow, and Sphere the Square.
Nice. I had Sphere the Square as well.
Yeah. All right, that's what I had. What else did you have, Dennis?
I also had Oh God, what is it that I have done?
Okay. Let's see, Ben, what you got?
I got nothing.
All right, David?
I got nothing.
Attaboy. By votes, it's Sphere the Square.
I like it.
Any objections to Sphere the Square?
I mean, as a math major, I can't be against it. So.
Cool. All right, well, I'm going to go play with my cat because she is currently messing around with the wires behind my monitor, which means she wants my attention.
Yeah.
How do I turn this thing off? I knew I figured it out the other day.
She did. She unplugged my monitor while I was streaming one night.
Nice.
Yeah. She is a bastard, aren't you?
Further escalation in the battle.
I can just imagine like not realizing that she did it and then being on tech support on the phone with tech support for hours.
Sarah, do you want a cat? Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
We can't help you. Click.
May God have mercy on your soul. Oh man. Cool.
Good night.
Right. Take care, everybody. Bye. Have a good week.
See ya. Peace.